The Stonetalon Mountains rose up before me, veering above muddy valleys and devastated forests. As I emerged from the pass leading out of Ashenvale, immediately the atmosphere changed. It felt oppressive here, the air moist and clammy, the winds tinged with ever-present odor of burning. The gray mountain peaks above looking morose and lonely as they stared at the lands below. I guess this place was once beautiful, and in certain parts that beauty still remained, but much of it was tainted by the brutality of war, the formerly thick forest hacked apart for lumber, the lakes polluted, the valleys littered with hundreds of stinking corpses. And that, of course, was why I was here, for the war. Stonetalon was one of the contested areas between our Horde and the Alliance who were encroaching on our people's lands, or so we were told. Up to this point I knew very little of the Alliance, having only encountered them sporadically on my journeys. I knew that my people had a pleasant enough history with the Night Elves, going back many years, but the others were all foreign to us. Gnomes with their mad inventions, the greedy and wasteful dwarves, the bloodthirsty worgen, the warlike humans, and the unwholesomely alien Draenei. Such were the stereotypes, at least, and as a grunt in the army, that was all we had to judge our enemies by, because there was certainly no diplomacy here. They attacked us on sight, and we attacked them back. I spent much of my time at Crumgar Fortress, taking my orders from the Orcish General Grebo, himself under the Overlord Crumgar, and training with the other grunts in between missions. Like most of the young soldiers there, I did what I was told. Much of it seemed righteous enough, battling the enemies, stopping their war machines, bringing down their evil plots. We were defending our homes after all, fighting for our freedom against invading monsters who sought to enslave us, steal our lands, and pillage our resources. It did not feel good killing them, I'll say that, but we justified it, made it feel necessary. We played a game of us versus them, of survival, of using group identity to make the bad into the good. If a person in a town kills another person, it is called murder, and they are deemed to be pariahs. On the field of battle, a soldier who kills another is called a hero. The murderer kills because it is his own will. The soldier because it is the will of his tribe, his state, or his leader. The soldier's killing is justified because it is viewed as being for the greater good of his people, whether it is for freedom, for glory, survival, justice, or any number of other abstract concepts. Whether this is all true or not, well, that varies by case and by perspective, and I am not here to judge that. Now that I've grown more and seen the world from many points of view, I see all the fighting that we do in a different light. It is a part of the world after all, a world that seems defined by battle, by war. Just as I hunted back in Mulgore, I fought people out here in Stonetalon. Yet, as the battles wore on, as we fought enemy after enemy, I began to feel worn out and tired. The enemy cried out and died, just as we did, their bodies falling beside our own, food for the crows just as much as we were. Sanctioned as it was by the Horde and by the war chief, a part of me couldn't help but feel that all my honorable kills were indeed murders. But I buried that, deep in my mind, pushing myself fully into my duties and my work, grim as it was. Eventually, I was assigned to Cliffwalker Post, a camp atop a grand plateau overlooking the mountains. Here I was to assist in the battles against the Night Elves, who were reputedly using the grand tree in the valley below as a kind of weapon, though I knew not how that could be. I continued to battle the Alliance forces below, and though the work was violent as ever, I found some respite between missions. The traditional Tauren camp above made me feel at home in a way, and Chieftain Cliffwalker and his mate Masha were good, honest people, who even reminded me much of my own parents, which made it all the worse to see how they were treated. They sent me to look for their son, who had reputedly disappeared into the great tree of the elves, while studying with the druids there. I found him slain, not by the Alliance, but by an ally, General Grebo himself. His treachery revealed, the general attacked me and my fellow Tauren, though he failed and was himself slain. Still in the mind of a good soldier, I reported this infraction to Overlord Crumgar himself. Yet back at the post, all I found was more treachery. The Overlord and his men slew the noble Masha, and I was forced to watch as he activated an unspeakable weapon and utterly destroyed the valley below, though I knew firsthand that it contained no weapon of mass destruction. In the wake of this devastation, our war chief himself, Garrosh Hellscream, appeared. He said that the Overlord's actions did not reflect the values of the Horde, and executed the leader for his lack of honor, throwing him right off the edge of the cliff that we stood upon. I was given a break from my duties, as the Horde regrouped and restructured following the disaster. For a time I merely stared down at the crater that had been a flourishing valley, witnessing the devastation my own people committed. I felt partially to blame for it all, having been instrumental in implementing the Overlord's plans. My heart was conflicted. While I had no love for the Alliance, I wondered if the Horde was any better at all. We were fighting over these mountains and the bounty they held, yet some among us were willing to destroy it all for some hollow victory. So many had died for that victory, enemy and friend alike, the victims of brutal, dishonest warfare, or even outright betrayal. Was I a fool for playing my part in all this? An unconscious tool of immoral leaders? Or even a monster myself, much as the Alliance would label me? Either way, I could not stand to be in that place any longer. I could not bear to take part in such a vile affair. So I walked away.